Bill Clinton's post-presidency is unlike any before.
I had always said that Bill Clinton would run for president for the rest of his life. Not literally, but figuratively. And I think I underestimated him. I think he's been running for president of the world for the rest of his life.
But in January 2001, as the Clinton administration is coming to a close, it is difficult to see what he will do next. The president is only 54 years old, and now saying goodbye to the greatest job he could imagine.
They may find somebody who can do this job better than me. They will never find anybody who had any more fun doing it than I have.
This is a person who's had a very purpose-driven life, so he had to find that purpose again.
Daunted perhaps by the thought of leaving office,
I want to thank the Academy for this tremendous honor.
He's able to make fun of his situation with this comedy skit he did for the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Yahtzee! All right, you did it, my man.
In reality, his last days in the White House are a frenzied attempt to beat the clock.
He wanted to get a Middle East peace agreement done. He was still working on North Korea issues. I mean, he was going around the clock. I mean, finally, Hillary had to come and drag him out of the Oval Office and say, you know, we're leaving in about 12 hours. You got to pack.
You see that sign there that says, please don't go? I left the White House, but I'm still here.
I think it was very difficult for Clinton to step away from the spotlight. And even in his final moments in office, he basically wouldn't stop talking, even as George W. Bush was being inaugurated.
Clinton's immediate departure from the White House is hurt by his 11th hour pardon of fugitive financier Mark Rich. But overall, his presidency ends on a high note. A strong economy, the impeachment process fading into the background, his approval rating higher than any departing president in the modern era, 66%.
Mr. President, we haven't heard from you in a while. What's going on?
I'm working on my house, man.
After spending his whole adult life in political office, Clinton lacks an established role. Hillary Clinton is the new senator from New York.
The White House years, the administration of my husband are over, and I'm going to be focused solely on the job that I can do to help New York.
The former first couple makes their new home just north of New York City, in the small town of Chappaqua. The senator spends much of the week working in Washington, leaving the former president home alone.
He was feeling at loose ends. I've had the biggest achievement in my life. What am I going to do next? He didn't have an answer to that question, and that left him down.
When I was leaving the White House, I thought of myself as a guy who'd been, let's say, a star quarterback in the NFL. Right. Look how early they have to retire. Or, you know, most professional athletes have a career of 4 or 5 years. Look at the career Magic Johnson's had in business and with his own foundation. He decided that he wanted to be as good in business as he was in basketball, and while doing it, he wanted to inspire young people who could never be professional athletes to realize they could have meaningful, good, successful lives.
Bill Clinton takes his first step toward finding his purpose by setting up the William J. Clinton Foundation, not in his home state of Arkansas, but in the center of action, New York City. Then comes a stumble out of the gate. His choice of a midtown Manhattan skyscraper for his post-presidential office is roundly criticized. But true to form, Clinton regains his footing with his second and better pick, an office on 125th Street up in Harlem. It's a classic Bill Clinton comeback. In this case, lickety-split.
I love you, Harlem. Thank you. God bless you. I feel at home. Thank you.
In December of 2001, he breaks ground on his presidential library in Little Rock, Arkansas. It's a low-key affair. Bill Clinton needs to focus on the short term as well. He needs a significant income for new family homes in New York and Washington, to cover millions in legal fees from the fruitless Whitewater investigation, as well as to raise funds for the library. He writes a successful memoir and gives hundreds of speeches, earning tens of millions in speaking fees. He is, even then, feeling his way to a higher purpose.
He realized that his next big mission would be to do what he had done as president, but to do this now as a private citizen.
In 2002, Clinton joins Nelson Mandela at the International AIDS Conference in Barcelona.
We must find ways and means to make life-saving treatment available to all who need it.
Clinton is inspired to launch the Clinton HIV/AIDS initiative to negotiate affordable rates for antiretroviral medications in developing countries.
First thing we had to do was get the price down because people were dying like flies. Then we said we won't go any place we're not asked. And then when they asked, we made it clear that we had to have a strict no corruption policy. I just said, this is life and death.
Do you do any kind of follow-up with their partners, their husbands, their children?
Nobody can be taking any money out of this. We have to keep the price down and speed up the delivery and make it effective.
Clinton spends a lot of time and energy helping African nations. Kevin Spacey joins him on a 2002 trip.
There was a period of time where he had a little break, and he said, I want to go, there's a market I want to go to. And by the time we got inside, word had gotten out that he was there. And out of everywhere in this township came people. And they were yelling, peacemaker, peacemaker, peacemaker.
Some see Clinton's interest in Africa as in part making up for his belief the West could have intervened in the 1994 genocide in Rwanda, when an estimated 800,000 people were butchered in a tribal conflict. During a post-presidential visit to Rwanda, he addresses the issue directly.
Let me ask you, though, what you're doing here now, even just a little bit, is it to make up for the inaction of 1994? Is there a teeny bit of atonement there?
I suppose there is. I told them in 98 when I came here and apologized to them that I would do everything I could to help them begin again. And when I left the White House, I tried to keep my word. But it's more than just trying to atone. I think these are truly extraordinary people. And I think they don't deserve to have their whole future defined by those dark days.
And what about the soybeans? What's the yield per hectare on soybeans?
I think that he is motivated across the continent of Africa because there's so much poverty, there's so much need, and there's so much opportunity.
Back home, Clinton's momentum has shifted. In November 2004, he opens his presidential library in Little Rock. Despite torrential rain, 3 American presidents attend. In the crowd are such friends as Barbra Streisand and Robin Williams.
This library is the symbol of a bridge to the 21st century. What it is to me is the symbol of not only what I tried to do, but what I want to do with the rest of my life. Building bridges from yesterday to tomorrow, building bridges across racial and religious and ethnic and income and political divides, building bridges.
Clinton's ability to build bridges between countries is about to be called on in the face of terrible tragedy.
If there's a crisis in the world, he'd love to be in the middle of it because he believes he really can help.